makes 100 paintings in 100 days. I'm not much of an orator, so you're not really going to hear me talking very much, at least until the start of the year. Maybe I'll change my mind. I just wanted to give a quick overview of the type of supplies I'm using. When I started this goal, I'm a self-taught sculptor. I've been sculpting for, I don't know, 10 years. As a hobby, sometimes I sell it on Etsy. Right now, I'm not selling anything. Once a year, I'll attempt to paint, but I'm not very good. Not very good at drawing. But I keep at it. On YouTube, I stumbled across somebody's name. Maybe I'll put it in the comments eventually. Where he, spent 100 days, drawing, and you could see a clear progression. I read a lot of business books, and it's the same thing if you focus on any one skill, within a time frame, with the caveat of you're trying to have a specific goal. So you're not trying to be a master painter, but you want to improve on a certain aspect. For me, so that's how I started. And so yeah, so when I first started, it was very vague. I didn't really have any supplies. All I really had was this, and like a Walmart watercolor set. Like those cheap $2 ones. After the first couple paintings, it was kind of garbage. I didn't really like the color values. I didn't like this. I didn't really feel like it had much control. I've seen some artists use this and they're like, oh, it's fantastic for blending. But for what I'm doing, which is glazing, the glazing technique with watercolor, which I've, discovered on YouTube, this didn't really give me the kind of control that I wanted. I don't know, can you see this? So after, I don't know, a handful of paintings, I dumped this. So I don't use this at all anymore. This was a number 12 brush that I got, I don't know, 10 plus years ago. Because like I said, once a year I'll try painting. It's always been acrylics. Usually it's like silhouettes or landscapes or something. Again, not very good. Very general. But I wanted to give you an idea of some of the supplies that I had. Again, this brush cost, I don't know, $20 or something. But again, this was like 10 years ago. What is it? Treston's Touch. I don't know. Precision's Touch round brush. Again, I think I used this on one piece, but again, this held a lot of water. So this is fine if I'm working on a bigger piece, but I work on smaller pieces, at least for right now. I get these 5x7 sheets. This side's a little rough. It's cold pressed. This side's rough. This side's smooth. So obviously on the smooth side, you can get a lot more detail. I use the rougher side purposely because I feel like if I can get all of my paintings good on this side, if I ever transition to this side, it's going to look like a photograph. But again, I get these on Amazon, 100 of them for, I don't know, $10. There's not going to be a link. You got to find that yourselves. I'm not going to. I'm not sponsored, so I'm not going to tell you what to buy. But again, I don't. I buy the cheap stuff. I'm not. I'm not a professional. So it's whatever I like, and I like cheap. That's me. So since I'm painting on this one and I have a border, this brush tends to overpower. It's fine if I'm doing big blocky, but again, this is too much brush for what I'm doing. So I think after one painting, again, I stopped using this. I never used it again. Okay. So with what remains, I ended up going to Michael's. I ended up immediately wanting a better quality paint because that's what the some YouTube videos that I was watching, a huge jump from cheap quality watercolor, just blending and, glazing to, an intermediate level. So I ended up going with Winsor Newton Again, not very expensive. You can probably, well, I got these, each of these tubes, anywhere between $5 and $10, and it's the 0.7 ounce. This one is, what is it? Crimson hue, alizarin crimson hue. I didn't really use this one too much for these 100. I might have, dabbled a little bit, mainly because some painters that I was watching on YouTube, they said to focus on values, which is what I was doing. So I was working on glazing, I was working on values. So values is just layering stuff and focusing on like the shadows and general shapes of things versus, the actual mixing. At least that's what I interpreted it as. And one of the big things a lot of people do is they don't really pick a style, so they're painting willy-nilly. One of the main things, especially on these 100 paintings, is pick a style of painting, pick a style of color that you're you're aiming for. That way, it's not all chaotic. Everything feels like it belongs in the same collection. Good or bad, doesn't matter. I like a vintage looking pieces, not only in clothing style, it's just something I like. So I ended up going with that color palette. I came up with these four mainly because these two sets, when blended, they form grays. So this one was the burnt sienna and Payne's gray. Payne's gray is very pretty. You layer it really, really dark, and it's almost black, but it still has like a tinge of blue in it, really light. And as you can see, you see a lot of color, especially with the white background of the paper. And the burnt sienna, again, a lot of hues especially with the background of the white paper. That gives you almost like a skin tone. So these two together gives you almost a skin tone, which is what I was using. So these two are the ones that go together. So some paintings, I'll only use these two. If I'm using just a value study and I'll only use one, I'll only use, let's say, Payne's gray. Something like the merchant cart. So I'm only using Payne's gray, and I'm going the outlines, the different values, trying to master that. I think I did a portrait as well. Yeah. Not very good, but again, self-portrait. So there's something in the Payne's gray. So that's these two. I use Payne's gray a lot. The other two is the Prussian blue and the burnt umber. Again, both of these combined forms grays. And the different volumes, you'll get different hues of green. So again, very useful. I do a lot of clothing that's in green. A lot of gems, you use the blues, especially eyes as well. Waters. It just really depends on what you're doing. Bottle for the water. I like this one. I got at a dollar store. Again, $1.50, whatever it is now. I like this one because you can open and close it. I'm not constantly refilling it. So it doesn't spill on anything. Again, cheap. That's me. Got this at Walmart in a little tub. It's collapsible. Again, a couple bucks. So. And the tape I use, because I'm trying to minimize the tearing. I got this at, I don't think it was Walmart. It might have been the home improvement place, like Jerry's. So it's the Scotch Surface Delicate. Don't expect it like if you put it down and lift it back up, put it down. That's not how it works. You put it down once and that's pretty much it, because it'll lose the stickiness, the adhesion. But again, the whole roll, this cost me, I want to say $6, $7. But, it'll last, all 100 paintings, something like that, maybe 50. Who knows? I don't remember. Okay, so for the main brushes, I mainly use this number 6 round brush. long round brush, a lot for, a lot, covering the large areas, some general shapes and the values. For blending, I use this, what is this, 9-6, I don't know, filbert brush. I use this one a lot as well. On the early pieces, I was using this 5-0 retoucher a lot. I use this one a lot. Like if I made a mistake and I'm trying to lighten it up with, a paper towel or something, I'll use this one because it doesn't hold very much water. So there's a lot more control. For the finer details, this one was gotten later just because I couldn't get as fine detail with this one. So I ended up getting this 3-0 long round brush. So again, each of these brushes, even if it's, $10 each, which it's not, maybe it is, I don't know, this Velvet Touch. Again, I got these at Michael's, so that's another $40. So 5, 10, 15, 20, let's say $40 if you have a coupon. So we're around $60. The paper's another 15, and tape, so that's another $20. So now we're up to 80. 85 for these two. The tray, again, Walmart, for another $5, so $90. When I'm painting with the bowl, I need to dry it off. I use these cotton rags, so that's another. You get these at Walmart, a stack of, I don't know, 5, 10 for $5. So for under $100, again, not cheap. But if your goal is, I want to improve, I want to work on this skill, and I'm going to stick with it for the full 100 paintings no matter what, set yourself up with the right thing. It's a huge difference. Like I said, the jump from this to only using this for the entire painting to I started with, I think, just these two for a few paintings. And then I added this one, and then I added this one. So I did these two for 50, and then for the next 50, I was up to 4 brushes. So again, you don't need a ton of stuff, but it does help having a little range. Same with colors. You don't need a full freaking palette. This will last you a long time, especially if you're being frugal, like I am. Just a little bit, a little water, and even this, I could put a couple drops and bring it back to life because again, it's watercolor. So this will basically set you up for what you're doing. Another thing, when I'm painting, I'll cut out a piece of paper and I'll have this next to the tray. So as I'm dipping, for like the first 20 paintings, I would immediately just start, putting it directly onto the painting itself. I would go from tray to paper. I stopped doing that just because I would get, nasty surprises like, oh, I put too much water, or there's not enough pigment. So I started, going from tray to paper a little bit just to test to see if I like it. If I did, okay, I'll go back and then I'll, progress to the painting itself and start doing whatever I was doing. Okay. Another thing, when you're working with whatever you're doing, before you work on any painting, what I suggest is you get a piece of paper, again, and you create yourself like a little cheat sheet. So you know how the colors are going to behave, especially if you're doing glazing. You want to see how the colors interact. So again, this right here is just burnt umber and Prussian blue. So if I want a lot of water, I'm mixing, different levels and seeing how the different glazes and the white of the paper look. What are the different, brush techniques I could do? So again, very controlled, very organized. And again, you can see 1 stroke, 2 stroke, 3 stroke, 4. And then here within that, you could see, 1, 2, 3 strokes, this is what I can look. Or 1, 2 strokes, this is what it looks like. Or up here, again, you're getting a different value. And again, this is just one. And this is just one. Again, this is fairly light on pigment. But again, it's giving you an idea of what you can do on the actual painting before you work on there. And again, I'll just pin this on the wall. So as I'm painting, and let's say I'm trying to figure out, how I want to do a shadow or something, I can always look up here and then look, oh, if I layer it in this particular order, I'll get this effect, or something like that. Again, this is what I do. You can do whatever you want, but this kind of helps me. When I eventually moved to portraits and trying to develop that, and I figured out what I liked, I created, again, a cheat sheet just to organize and structure the way I'm working on a painting. I'll label it backdrop, face, close, and then I'll label what I'm doing with a particular color and what I'm trying to accomplish. If I'm trying to do background, shadows, the outlines of eyes, clothes, particular shadows on clothes, highlights, edges. So again, it helps creating one of these. And the way I created one of these is actually why I actually started doing the time lapses. I highly recommend film every single painting you do and take your 3-hour painting and shorten it down to 30 seconds, a minute, or whatever. And every time you finish a painting, watch your time lapse 10 times and have a piece of paper and make a note. Oh, I made a mistake because I added too much water on this step, or my brush, I should have used a different brush on that particular technique. I found that extremely helpful when I was painting, because again, it just helped me. I watch it again and again and again. And one of you guys commented, "Oh, hey, you're not using enough pigment, for the backgrounds." But again, for these first 100, I wasn't really focused on the richness of the color. I was more focused on trying to figure out how to layer the values on the different techniques. It got a little better as I moved on, but again, I was trying to focus more on values, on how to do different things, the blending of the colors, how to do that, what I liked. Like this one completely washed out. But I remember this day, I didn't want to paint that day at all, but I created a schedule where I set a time period, and in that time period, I'll paint whether I like to or not. Basically, if you can't keep a deal with yourself, you're not going to keep a deal with anybody else. So hold yourself accountable. If you say you're going to do something, do it. So again, there's, some, 2 months left in the year. I'm definitely going to shoot for probably another 100 paintings by the end of the year. Again, I got this thing to keep track of all the paintings on Amazon. I think I got 2 of these that holds, 50 paintings for, I want to say $10. Again, I like to stay organized, so that's what I did. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing. What am I missing? I think I covered everything. Paint brushes, paintings. So yeah, the next focus will probably be portraits. The way I organize my time is trying from now on to do the paintings that I do in sets of 3. That way I can focus on improving a particular thing. So if I'm working on landscapes, I might start the first landscape. Okay, I want to focus on foliage or something, or maybe shadows, or the bark, or maybe the reflections on water. So I'll spend those 3 paintings trying to improve that one thing, and then the next set will maybe be eyes or something, because again, when I did portraits, my eyes weren't very good. So if I focus on a eye study, I'm learning in a bigger form. I'm learning how to do different things. So when I go back to a smaller figure, I have more experience, even if the area of the eye is a lot smaller. And that was one way I could improve my skills a lot faster. So again, be organized, make a plan way ahead of time. Don't just show up to your painting period with like, oh, I'm gonna paint whatever comes to my mind. That's a terrible way of painting. Always have a plan. So have a notebook, label it 1 through 20, and so you always have a list of what you're working down. So when you show up to your table to paint, you have a plan. It's not whatever is going to come to you. That's not writer's block. That's idiotic. Have a plan ahead of time. People that go to the Olympics, they don't just show up. They have a training schedule, they plan, and they train for it. So that's what you're doing. If you're trying to improve, have a plan. So like I said, I broke down my paintings between figures. So, where's my painting? Ugh. Let's see. So portraits will be, shoulders and the head. Figures will, be the full torso. So this would be considered, a figure. And the main reason you want to, shift in different sizes is because the smaller the detail, the less you'll be able to put into details because of the brush size. You still can do quite a bit, but again, that's what I recommend. So again, you're limited on the amount of detail you can do. Again, this was a previous painting I did, which was bigger, and I just incorporated a previous painting into this painting just because I thought it was neat. Again, in this one, I liked a lot of the values. I liked the light coming off of this. I was terrible with hands. After I painted this one, I kind of didn't want to do hands for a while, and I'm still pretty hesitant. So maybe I'll need to do just studies of just hands, so I'm less nervous, and so it looks more natural. But yeah, so I would have a broad range of what you're painting. So figures, portraits, little items. My audience right now, I think, is like 50% women. So you probably have perfume bottles. A lot of those are really intricate and pretty. You could use those for paintings. What else did I paint? Landscapes, plenty of pictures of places you want to visit. It could be vacation spots. But again, have a plan. I tend to, use just regular mechanical pencil and, sketch stuff out that I like. I include a timer just, to help myself keep pace with what I'm doing. I'm actually getting a new one because, this one is kind of glitching on me. And it's not the battery. I think it's just dying. So, but yeah, overall, the lighting, again, in my setup isn't very good because that's just what I have. I had another one. It died. It was terrible. And then I got this one, again, cheap. I didn't really care. The area that I work in and the time that I work is really dark. So I'm kind of limited. And again, the camera that I'm using is just my fun. So I have it suspended above my work area. My earlier paintings, the lighting's not very good. I'm trying to improve so it's more visible for you guys. But again, my priority is just painting. And I'm not going to buy a bunch of gear because that's expensive. I don't, I'd rather just buy brushes or paints. But again, after, 100 paintings, I still have plenty of paint. So these are probably halfway, if that. So there's plenty, and same with the brushes, the wear on the brushes themselves. While not crisp, still plenty of life in them. The one that suffered the most, I think, are these fine tipped ones. But again, if you're kind to your stuff, it should last. So hope that helps. Good luck. And again, I'll be continuing to paint. I'm going to try to shoot for 200 paintings by the end of the year. So another 100. So we'll see. All right. Bye.